Due to the global outbreak of the coronavirus, the Voice of America is taking every necessary precaution to safeguard its employees, so our broadcast will look a little different today and in the near future as we reduce our staffing at WEWE headquarters here in Washington. We appreciate your staying with us on Straight Talk Africa. Hello, welcome to Straight Talk Africa, coming to you from my home in Arlington, Virginia, a suburb of Washington, D.C. I am Shaka Sssali. And today we'll have a candid conversation with South African singer, songwriter, and humanitarian, YVONNE Chaka Chaka. She was recently included in Africa's 50 Most Powerful Women by Forbes magazine. Joining us from her beautiful home in Johannesburg, otherwise known as the City of Gold, is the legendary, iconic South African singer, songwriter, and Pan-African humanitarian icon, YVONNE Chaka Chaka. Well, Sister Chaka Chaka, I have to say that I'm profoundly honored and exceedingly humbled to have the opportunity to host you on this special edition of Straight Talk Africa for the first time.
I'm the one who's very, very humble. This is one of my favorite programs. Thank you and your producers and everybody who made sure that I become part of this program. Thank you very much for having me. Thanks to you, thanks to your team, and thanks to all the people who are sitting and watching.
I'm glad that the feeling is mutual.
Yes.
As we were chit-chatting before the show, we talked about how the first and last time we met in person was in New York City, 2014, at the African American Institute annual gala, where you played the incredible opening music, and I happened to be a very modest moderator of the day. And among the panelists, of course, was then President of the Ivory Coast, Alassane Ouattara.
Well, you are modest, but I just want to tell everybody that you did Africa very proud, you know, to be one of those moderators there. And I think everybody was starstruck because they all met you there. And it was a great, great evening, really, and a great function for that matter in New York, having all the Africans meeting together there.
You are so kind, you know, YVONNE Chaka Chaka. First of all, how did you, in fact, become Chaka Chaka? Because the last time I checked, when you were born in Soweto, southwestern town of Johannesburg, where I have been and in fact had lunch in the Madiba restaurant, you were known as YVONNE Chaka.
My real surname is Machaka. I'm a North Sotho. My mother is a Swazi. My father is a North Sotho. And he comes from the royal family of Bapedi, Batokwa. And when I started singing, you know, the guy who found me, Phil Hollis, as a 19-year-old, I just finished university, and they were looking for somebody to sing the song, I'm in Love with the DJ. So I found myself at the right place at the right time when I was supposed to have gone to university to enroll, to study law, which was what my mother wanted me to do. And the guy said to me, your name is YVONNE Chaka, but that's very long. We want to make you a star. So let's change the name. And I had no clue why he wanted to change my name. And he said, okay, Chaka Chaka, Chaka Chaka. You know, he played with this Chaka, you know, Chaka. And until the whole office said, you know what, she's young, she's feisty. And so YVONNE Chaka Chaka would be easier because YVONNE Chaka it's long, you know, and we want something that is very attractive. And as a 19-year-old coming from the townships, not understanding what marketing was, I was very upset. But, you know, cut the long story short, YVONNE Chaka Chaka, after 35 years, is sitting right here, you know, on the Voice of America.
You are most welcome. I have to say, Sister YVONNE Chaka Chaka, that when you mentioned your debut album, I Am in Love with the DJ?
Yes.
Mr. DJ.
I'm in love with the DJ.
You are in love with the DJ, I was told, by a former Namibian freedom fighter who happened to be in the Swapo refugee camps, that your song used to enormously inspire them, that you and the late friend and colleague artist Brenda Fassie, you were the item as far as they were concerned. How do you react to that?
You know, it really, really humbles me when I hear that people who were fighting for our dignity, people who were fighting for our freedom, sat there and listened to our music, and our music gave them hope. It really humbles me, because for me, singing songs like I'm in love with the DJ, it was just a stepping stone to be able to sing songs like I Cry for Freedom, Motherland, Africa is crying for the children, to make sure that I am aware of what was happening in my continent and in South Africa, where a Black person was absolutely a non-entity. In my neighbors, you know, in Namibia, which was Southwest Africa. So it really humbles me that those people who were fighting so hard for us to get our freedom and to give us back our dignity were inspired and sustained by our music. You know, it's something that I will never forget. And I want to say to them, thank you. Whilst you were fighting so hard, we were trying to entertain you, to give you hope, and to give you the boom, to make sure that you fight the enemy, so that we could call Africa and South Africa home.
Sister YVONNE Chaka Chaka, how did you feel, for example, when the Madiba himself, Nelson Mandela, who became the first indigenous African president of modern-day South Africa in 1994, when he actually thanked you for having inspired them with your music when they were freedom fighters locked away at the notorious Robben Island?
You know, as I said, you were mentioning our heroes and our freedom fighters in Namibia, and equally, you know, our fathers in South Africa as well were inspired by the music of Miriam Makeba, Hugh Masekela, Brenda Fassie, Chico Twala, YVONNE Chaka Chaka. For me, it's the contribution, my little contribution that I was making, you know, to keep inspiring others and giving them hope through our music, whilst they were sitting there and fighting for our equal rights. I was very lucky to have met Nelson Mandela when he came out of jail. He came to visit me at my home. You know, I did not think that a person like me would be visited by this man of the world. But he's come to my home several times. I've cooked dinner for him, and he's asked me so many questions, and I had lots of questions for him to ask as well, you know. But I'm grateful to all those countries who gave my brothers and my sisters refuge when there was apartheid in my country, South Africa, and they gave my brothers and my sisters refuge. I want to say to them, thank you very much. Today, I can call South Africa home. I've been given back my dignity, and I am a proud South African.
Yvonne, when you say that the great Madiba would stop by your beautiful house and you would get the honor to cook him or to cook for him a dinner, what sort of food, what sort of dinner would you make for the great Madiba? What
You
did
know,
you,
the very first,
what did he in fact like? What type of cuisine?
the very first time Madiba came to my house, I was at university, and my husband came to fetch me to say, we've got an appointment with Madiba. And I thought, okay, my husband's coming to class and I'm in class. What's wrong? And he said, you know, we had a call during the day, we've got a visitor. And I said, the visitor can wait. I'm in class, I've got lectures. And he said to me, we have to go home, you know. I said, but I've just come in. And he said, you have to go and cook. Somebody's coming to visit us. And it was Madiba. And we just prepared our everyday meal, you know. And he ate with us, you know, because I thought I wasn't ready to cook, you know, and go to the shops and buy. But he said, whatever is there, I will eat. He enjoyed his red glass of wine. That he really, really enjoyed. But he wasn't very fussy. He ate whatever was there that was prepared and cooked on that particular day. So that's when I thought, this is an amazing man for real.
Did he eat the South African favorite? I mean the South African, indigenous African favorite meal, which is known
He
as
did eat.
pap, which they call ugari in East Africa.
He did eat the pap that we had cooked. And I think on that day we had cooked pap, and I think with cabbage and I think boerewors, and you know, so I tried to augment and get salads and get other things, you know, but he just ate. He said whatever is there, you know, and it was before he became a president, for that matter, and my kids who were young kept on sitting on his lap, you know, and asking him, do you want sugar? How many teaspoons? And I kept on saying to them, you know, trying to wave to them to say, no, no. And I mean, for them, they just saw this old man, and they were coming with coffees and teas and asking, do you want sugar? You know, and Madiba made you feel so special. Every time you were with him, you would think you are the only person in his life.
Very interesting. Yvonne, how did you evolve into an artist that used his magic as an agent for social change?
Well, I guess every artist, whether you are an artist who draws or makes pottery or writes or an actor, when you are an artist, you are telling other people's stories. So I just believe that as a South African, obviously, because there were so many atrocities happening in my country, when I was given this platform to be able to sing, I thought it is a great platform to tell my story. And what better way to tell your story than in telling it in a song? So for me, from singing I'm in love with the DJ, to singing songs like From Me to You, I cry for freedom, Africa is crying for the children, Nabahamba bazobuya, which means those who left and went into exile will come back home when the time is right, because they were there fighting for us.
And indeed, they did come back with a bang.
They actually did. They came back. Some of them didn't even get to see the freedom. Some of them died in different countries. Some of them died in jails, you know, people who were incarcerated for wanting equal rights, for wanting freedom, for saying we are all human beings. But today I look back and I say, I am a proud South African. I only wish that everybody could have, you know, a roof over their head. I wish everybody can access good education. I wish everybody can have medication. I wish young people can go to school and get education and empower themselves. Those are the things that we still fight for them for in Africa. Africa is a great continent. This is not the dark continent. Africa is not for the dying ones and the crying ones. This is a beautiful continent that needs good management.
If I hear you correctly, Yvonne Chaka Chaka, it seems to me that you are really talking about the need, and perhaps as someone would have said, the fierce urgency of the need for social, economic, political, cultural justice for all Africans.
Well, I really believe in this beautiful Africa, and I wish Africa can benefit all those who live in it. You know, it's sad when I see the brain drain. It's sad for me in this day and age when we talk of Agenda 2030, you know, when we talk of Agenda 2063, we need to clean up now. Because if we don't, we'll be judged by the next generation. When we talk about the SDGs and, you know, the Millennium Development Goals, which were 8, and now with the 17 SDGs, we need to make sure that no one is left behind. And Africa has more young people, but are these young people given the tools to be able to fend for themselves? Is the platform, you know, conducive for young people to be able to do things for themselves? It's not yet Uhuru, but we must make sure that in our lifetime, our children see the light at the end of the tunnel.
So you read that wonderful book written by Kenyan Pan-Africanist, the late Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, father of former Kenyan Prime Minister Raila Odinga, not yet Uhuru.
Well, Raila and his wife are very good friends. I call them my brother and my sister. But I think, you know, it is time that people don't just sit back or people fold their arms. We need to make sure that each and every one of us makes sure that we do good. We make sure that we pave the way for our children and those who are coming after us, because those who came before us, they fought so hard for this Africa, you know, and I don't think we are there yet, but Africa will change, and Africa must change for the good.
Who is your hero? Who is or was your role model? And I'm really talking about who was the first person or first people to lend you their shoulders in order for you to climb on those shoulders so that you could see a little further than them?
I have lots of people really that I look up to, many. But you know, my immediate hero was my mother. My late mother was my everything. Mm-hmm. My mother was not that educated, but I think she was ahead of her time. I've got 2 elder sisters. I'm the last one in the family. Mm-hmm. And when my father died at the age of 11, I was 7 years old. My mother was a single parent. And because during apartheid, as a Black woman, she wasn't supposed to own the house. The white government took the house from my mother, and we ended up staying in the white woman's backyard where my mother worked as the domestic worker.
Right.
But my mother always held us by the hand with my 2 sisters, She didn't give us everything that we wanted. She gave us everything that we needed. And she always insisted that we must go to school and empower ourselves and have skills. My mother never even once encouraged us to want to get married. That's very funny. She would always say, you need to go and work and get educated so that you're empowered, so that nobody could take you for granted, so that you are not anyone's doormat. And I look back today and I say, as a 55-year-old, I'm a proud woman who could have been prostituted, because of hunger,
right?
Because there was no money, because there were no, you couldn't do any means to survive. But my mother protected us and guarded us. And today I look back and I say, I'm a proud woman and I walk tall because I did it my way.
What were the names of your great mother?
My mother's name was Sophie Ngwenya, and she married Habakkuk Machaka. So my father's name was Habakkuk, and my mother's name was Sophie. I look up to her, and I respected her, and I always, always look back and say, she could have said, girls, go find Shaka. He's a rich man out there. He's a smart man. Go and fend for yourself. But she never did. And I think I have a lot of respect for her.
May Sophie's soul rest in eternal peace.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Now, what about your father, who I found out during my research that he was, in fact, a budding artist, a budding musician, even though he never recorded a single piece before he returned to his creator.
Yes. Well, I guess the singing talent, I got it from my dad. Every new song, people around our neighborhood had it from my father. He bought every music, and, in the townships, you would take out the speakers, and put them outside, and whoever makes the highest noise, people will come and stop at that particular gate and listen. So Dad loved singing, and he really had a good voice. And I mean, he had one of the best whistles. I mean, when he whistled, you would think it was a bird. And he just loved singing. He sang songs, he created his own songs. But unfortunately, he died when I was only 11. So he died very early in life, but he was a great musician. I mean, songs from Mahalia Jackson, Roots, Quincy Jones, even Neil Diamond, for that matter. He bought all that music and he kept it.
Very interesting. Is that where perhaps you got your first interest, your first lessons towards becoming an artist in your own right? And is that where, in fact, you probably got your first lessons that helped you to become a socially and politically conscious individual?
Well, I guess, every child in Soweto was real conscientized. We knew that the system was wrong. The system was incorrect because we were not given equal rights. We were not given quality education. There were schools in town for white people. Black people were only in the townships. There were no recreational centers for Black people. Other townships did not even have libraries, for that matter. I mean, a library is a place where if people make sure that they want to make you not think, they will hide books from you. So most of the townships did not even have libraries where young people could just go, take a book, do research, read, and things like that. So, I think as a young person who wanted to better her life, who wanted to be better than her mother. My father was a driver, by the way, of a company, and my mother worked as a domestic worker. Mm-hmm. So you always had to really fight very hard to be able to acquire knowledge, to do research, to read more, so that you expand your horizon. So I think every black child, I'm grateful to those who came before me and fought in 1976, fought for good education. You know, why were we forced as young black people to study in Afrikaans, which was not our language? So I'm grateful to those who came before me and really fought very hard for good education and for people to be literate in their mother tongue or to speak another language which was acceptable. So I guess every young child in Soweto was so conscientized. You knew that things were wrong, and we had to fight very hard. So that put us in a position of not sitting and fold our arms and say everything was okay.
In a previous interview, you told a journalist that you became an artist because of your father. You basically had to get an opportunity to complete your father's unfinished business. Is that correct?
Well, I think music found me. You know, music was, because my dad had such a great voice and he sang, but he did not make a living out of music. And even my mother, when I started singing, she was not impressed at all. She wasn't happy. Mm-hmm. She didn't want me to do it because she thought, there goes my child. I'm never going to see her. She's going to start drinking. She's going to start taking drugs. She's just going to be something different, you know, because people in the arts, people in the creative space were never given the respect that they deserve.
Right.
In the beginning. If you were an artist, it was like, oh, you know, today things have changed. So I'm very happy that even though it was something I would have wanted to do, yes, it was not something that I would have persuaded, I must say. So I say music found me because all my mother wanted me to do was to acquire knowledge, was to have a degree or a diploma or a PhD, you know, to study, to be able to do things for myself and not have anyone taking me for granted or be at anyone's mercy.
Was Sophie, your mother, was she lucky to live a little bit long enough, perhaps, to change her mind because of what art, what music did for you?
I'm very happy to say my mother saw me starting to sing and she didn't approve of it. She saw me promising her that I will go to university and have that degree and have that education and empower myself, but take music, you know, to another level, or music takes me to another level. So she was lucky enough to see me perform for the Queen of England, perform for Oprah, perform for Ban Ki-moon, you know, become a UN Goodwill Ambassador, working with UNICEF, working with Gavi, working with the Global Fund, working with Rollback Malaria. And I'm so grateful to her that she saw me evolving, becoming a musician and becoming a social entrepreneur and using the platform of music to better other people's lives.
You talk about how your father inspires you to be an artist or a musician for that matter, but it seems to me, the last time I checked, you in fact happen to come from a family of artistic legends. I say this precisely because I had a friend who was a world-class jazz artist, the great late international icon, Hugh Masekela. The last time, in fact, I interacted with him live from Johannesburg on Straight Talk Africa was 2009. He has called you, among other things, by the way, not necessarily very complimentary. She referred to you as my mad niece.
Well, every time he said I was a mad niece, I said, it's because of you I'm mad. You know, Uncle Hugh is just one of those people. You know, he made sure that he found clans and families. And by the way, a man lived overseas for such a long time, but he still cherished, you know, his Africanness.
Yes.
You know, he loved telling you about where you come from. You know, and he was just so deep into knowing and wanting to teach others where they come from, what clans are they, and appreciating who they are. He was just an amazing man. He really, really loved who he was, and he respected that, and he wanted to impart that knowledge, not only to South Africans. He was a Pan-Africanist.
You know, music seems to me really is in your family DNA.
I want to think like that. I want to think like that. I mean, I come from a very talented family, and I'm just so grateful that those who came before me and those that I found on the way and adopted and made them, you know, extended families, gave me a chance to be where I am today. You know, you look at a great woman who in 1963 went to the UN for the very first time to talk about the atrocities in South Africa, Miriam Makeba. I think she's one of the first people who even sang for the Pope. So I had so much respect and so much love for Mama Africa, and she was indeed the real Mother Africa.
You have kept great company because, in fact, she refers to you as my daughter, my baby.
I was very lucky to have met Miriam Makeba in 1987. My very first trip to New York, I just started singing in 1985. And I said to the record company that I was with then, I want to travel the world. You know, as a young artist, you want to see the world. And I went to America and I went to Europe. And Ray Peary, by the way, they were busy rehearsing for Graceland, met me on 42nd Street and took me to the Omni apartments. And when I got there, I was a bit skeptical, you know, when he said to me, "What are you doing here in New York?" And I said, "Well, I'm visiting. I want to see the world." And she said to me, "Come with me." And I was a bit skeptical, a bit angry. I'm like, where is he taking me to, you know? And when we went into this apartment, I saw this beautiful woman and she was cooking. I could not believe it. And that was the first time I set my eyes on Miriam Makeba, and she became like a mother to me.
Well, my sister, YVONNE Chaka Chaka, when you were at university, what were you focusing on? What was your major and why?
Well, as a 19-year-old, my mother wanted me to study law. And I must say, I tried to study law. I failed Afrikaans 3 times. I failed History 1 because I was trying to study law. I failed mercantile law. I only passed English. And I said to my mother, I think I am not made for this. And she continued. She insisted that you must just have some education. What kind of a woman are you going to be if you don't have education? And I said to her, but I'm singing and I'm making money, you know? And she said, you must have education. Then I decided to do speech and drama in public speaking through Trinity College of London. And I did my LT. And then I continued, you know, to try to study law, but I must say law was not made for me. And I met Professor Veronica Mackay because at that time I was really, really concentrating on my singing. So when I had my higher diploma in speech and drama, I thought that's it. But my mother said it wasn't enough. You need to continue studying. So I went and I studied adult education, which for me was something that I really took for granted. You know, when I studied adult education, it was something that was very close to my heart because I'd seen so many people going and buying dog food, pets food,
right,
because they couldn't read, they couldn't write, thinking it was mincemeat. And I became so interested when I did my certificate, and then I did my diploma, I did my degree in adult education. But what made me very happy was when I was going out there to teach adult basic education and seeing that old man holding a pen and starting to write and taking a book and reading, which is something that you and I just take for granted. And so really that made me, it fulfilled me. I know that later on, I started working, doing all the work that I'm doing with the UN. I've registered now with Johns Hopkins to do, I've registered with Johns Hopkins to do public health. I wish I could finish my studies, because when I do the work that I do, I need to talk from a very informed position. It's good to be a goodwill ambassador, but I think it's even better when you speak from a very informed position.
Go for it.
It's not easy to study when you are 55.
Well, learning, you can do it anytime, I can assure you, Yvonne Chaka Chaka.
I can adhere to that as an adult basic education teacher.
Do you have any remorse whatsoever about having not followed through with the law degree?
No, not at all. I always say I have a plan. I plan things, but I think God knows my destiny. So I don't have any regrets. If I have to die today and be given a chance to come back on earth, I think I would still want to say, take the same route. I have absolutely no regrets. I always say I probably would have been a hopeless and a very useless lawyer if I'd been given a chance. But I got given a chance to do something else, which really inspired me, empowered me, and gave me a chance to do things for other people as well.
Some of your fans have suggested that one of the reasons why they like you, why they like your music, your contribution, in their words, not mine, is because they find you like a musician who goes about your business effortlessly. Is it possible that music, in fact, may have been your passion?
Well, I may say yes and say no. Music was my passion, but I don't think that my mother, even I never thought there was longevity in the music industry. I guess even when I was singing and making money at that time and getting very, very popular, at the back of my mind, I knew that if I acquire knowledge, if I have education, no one will ever take that away from me, because fame comes and goes. You know, what goes up must come down.
Correct.
So for me, I was very scared of being popular in 1985, 1986, 1987. I wasn't even sure that YVONNE Chaka Chaka would be popular in 1988, 1989, let alone 2020. So I thought, okay, if I sing, make money now, become famous, if it doesn't work, you know, I've got my, public speaking and my speech and drama diploma, and I've got my adult education degree. I can go and get work somewhere, you know, or do something else, or just go and have my honors or my master's or my PhD in education. Because for me, really, I like education. I think when people are educated, people are empowered. They can do things for themselves. You know, they won't be able to sit there, or they won't have anybody twisting their mind or just taking them for granted. So really, I think, music found me. And I'm very, very happy that I was able to use music to do all the things that I do today.
There is, of course, a saying that in life, the only constant is change. Society is not static, and so are people.
Absolutely.
You know, you have become incredibly famous. As I crisscross the mother African continent, you may be surprised, perhaps, or interested to learn that I have run into several mothers who are so proud that they have in fact named their daughters after your names. Their daughters are named Yvonne, and you say, how do you name Yvonne? How does she become Yvonne? You say, because of YVONNE Chaka Chaka. How does that feel?
It really, really humbles me. You know, I know I've met a couple of YVONNE Chaka Chakas with their surnames in Tanzania.
Yes.
You know, in Uganda.
Uganda, yes.
and
I have
DRC,
met some even in Nigeria and Ghana.
Exactly. You know, I haven't met them in Nigeria, but I know I've had parents coming to me in Uganda and in Tanzania and in the DRC saying, my daughter is YVONNE Chaka Chaka Kowemba or YVONNE Chaka Chaka. And I'm like, so why do you give them Chaka Chaka as well?
Yes.
But really, for me, it really humbles me. And I want to always say thank you, you know, for the life that I've been given. And I never stop thanking God for my life, because I cannot sit here and say everything that I have is because I'm smart or I'm clever. I'm being given this chance to do good. And it's my duty to make sure that I walk the talk and do good, because it's a platform that one has been given. And I want to say to those parents, thank you very much. Obviously, most parents give their children the names because they're inspired by something, you
Correct,
know.
correct.
I know lots of Mahalias, because Mahalia Jackson
Yes.
was a great musician. I know lots of young people, their mothers gave them names Miriam because of Miriam Makeba. So it's because I found other people who came before me, who've done such good work, who've paved the way, who've inspired others. And so I just came in after them as well.
I find that doing some homework about you, you really wear many hats, almost at the same time or simultaneously. And yet, the last time I checked, there are only 24 hours, really, in a day for all of us. Where do you find the time to do that?
Well, I always say, when you are given with the time, when you are given the platform, when you are not sick, when you are not ailing, when you don't have pain, it is important to do good and even do good even better, because your time will come when you have to rest. When you're in your coffin, you're never going to be able to do anything. So when you are given the time to shine, when you're given a time to hold others,
Yes.
and lift them, when you're given a time to empower others,
Yes.
whether it's in a classroom, whether it's in a boardroom, or going out into the communities and just sharing ideas, or giving out sanitary pads, giving out food to those that need them, I think it's a very good thing. There are women and men out there who don't have names, who are not famous. We do have names, by the way. Our parents gave us names. But it's the society that would say, oh, Shaka is a famous a presenter, or YVONNE Chaka Chaka, or Beyonce, or we all have a purpose here. And I do respect people who are famous for doing all the good work, really, that they do. But there are people out there who do not have the platform that you and I have, and they do enormous work. So each and every one of us, really, as I said, have got a purpose, and we all do good in different ways.
Do you agree with some who say that as an individual, you can probably run very fast and probably even break a world record, an Olympic record, a Commonwealth Games record, an African record, but that together we can, in fact, get very far or go very far?
I think it's the truth. On your own, you can run fast. You can run very, very fast and reach wherever you want to go to. But if we run together, we would go very far. And it will show that we are a close-knit family. We're looking out for one another. People always ask me, what do you call success? I always say, you can't sit there as Shaka and say, I'm successful, I'm famous, when your neighbors do not have, or when your community is not empowered, when your community don't have. When you say, I am successful, it's when you look at your neighbor, when you look at your community, when you look at people you went to school with, being able to do things for themselves and not ailing and not, sitting there and thinking, what am I eating today? Where am I going to sleep? I don't have a roof over my head. It's when you see your people saying, oh, there's food on the table for my children. There's a roof over my neighbor's house, and you look at your community and you see that we do all have, and we are going on the same direction. That is what I call success.
Very interesting. Yvonne, you have won many awards. You have done so many different things. One of the awards that you actually won was at Davos, World Economic Forum, very prestigious globally. You are the first African to do so, first African woman to win the Chrysler Award. What does that mean to you?
When I went to Davos for the very first time, and I've been going to the World Economic Forum in different countries, obviously, in Cape Town or in South Africa. It's only now of late that, they had one in Rwanda, one in Nigeria, one in Tanzania. I was very, very humbled, I must say, because I'm a musician, but I use my platform to learn, to impart my knowledge, and to expand my horizon. So for me, it all started in my music, with my music. And when I became the UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador and worked with Rollback Malaria as their global Goodwill Ambassador with Youssou and Princess Astrid of Belgium.
Right.
And thanks to Professor Awa Kulsek, who was the head of Rollback Malaria at the time. When I was asked to be UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, I just did not want to come as this famous person and just give out a check and go. I wanted to go to the field. I wanted to see what were these women going through, whether it was problems or wanting to solve problems, and going to hospitals to see if there was shortage of medication, why there was no medication, or things like that. So I wanted to be an active citizen. I wanted to be a present Goodwill Ambassador, learn what people's problems were, but I think above all, sit there and listen to them, because when people tell you about their problems, they want to say to you, these are our problems, but please do listen. And when you come to us with help, do empower us, do help us, because people do not want a handout. People want a handout. Yeah. So I really learned from all of that. And I guess whilst I was doing all that work, wanting to learn, wanting to listen, and wanting to help where I could, other people were watching. And the World Economic Forum is one of those platforms that really does a lot, you know, in the space of philanthropy, in the space of business, in the space of, you know, talking to different people and doing different measures, whether it's about health, education, infrastructure in different countries, and all those things. So I was very, very humbled to receive the Crystal Award in 2012 from the World Economic Forum. And I still want to say thank you to those people who recognized the work that I did, appreciated what I did, and gave me a chance to be able to work even harder and continue doing the work that I do.
Tell us about your incredible music by the name Umkomboti. What is the significance of Umkomboti? A name, it seems to me, derived from an indigenous African beer?
I must say that, you know, Umkomboti became one of those songs that made me famous, you know, worldwide. It was very funny because the album that we made, I think it was on Thank You, Mr. DJ, for playing my song, right, which became a very big hit. And Umkomboti was actually the last song on the album. It was just to fill up the album and make sure that there's 8 tracks. And it turned out to be one of the famous songs, and it became very big. The song was written for me by Artie van Beek and Chico Twala. I just sang the song. I just loved the beat, and we came up with the words, and we thought, let's sing about Umkomboti. Umkomboti, which is an African beer.
And made out of what? Out of maize or corn?
It's made out of corn.
Interesting. That's like what is called in East Africa, in Uganda, kwete.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't know.
And it's called chibuku. It's called chibuku in Zambia, and what have you?
Yes, exactly. So, you know, in fact, Umkomboti, it's quite nutritious as well. You know, it's quite nutritious, and for me, the significance of drinking Umkomboti in a calabash, you know, when you shake that calabash and you drink it, and you pass it on to somebody else. For me, that showed Ubuntu. to say we can drink from one cup or we can drink from one calabash because we are one, we trust one another, and because we are Bantus, we've got Ubuntu.
So it's really a reflection of the Bantu African culture of extended relationship.
Absolutely, no doubt about that.
I have your back, you have my back.
You have my back, exactly.
Let's go to Uganda. You told me before we got into the show that it happens to be your most favorite country. Is that
it still is.
It still is. Well, I guess why not? Because after all, the Ugandans dubbed you the Princess of Africa.
Webaranyo.
Oyogera Uganda nyabo.
Msibe mtia abantu obarungi.
I like that. By the way, before I forget, is it true that you were, in fact, deported from Uganda last December?
I don't think I was deported. I decided to leave. In fact, the promoter owes me my money. I want the promoter to pay me my money.
Who is that?
A company which was called, I can't even remember the name of the company, but the guy who invited me, his name was Junior. Abitex. Abitex was the company.
If the managers of the company were watching this show, could you please look straight in the camera and tell them exactly what you think they need to do?
The promoters owe me my money because I had to buy my own ticket. So I want Abitex to pay me my money that I used to buy my own tickets for my two sons and myself, and to pay me the money that I was supposed to get, because I was coming there to just perform. It was a fee, and some of the money I wanted to take it to the Oliver Tambo school in Uganda,
right,
to go and donate there. So that did not happen, but it is what it is. I'm back home, and I love Uganda, by the way, and I'll still go back to Uganda.
On that note, YVONNE Chaka Chaka, I must say once again that I was profoundly honored and exceedingly humbled to have had the opportunity to interact with you for the past 1 hour. And I also take this opportunity to thank you for your service to the people of Africa and indeed the world.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you to all the people who work with you, and thank you to everyone who is watching. I never take anything for granted.
Thanks to our audience for tuning into Straight Talk Africa. And in the meantime, get better, not bitter, YVONNE. And please, please, please remember to keep the African hopes alive.